We're live. That's pretty cool. This is our first podcast. Nicholas Olds and myself, Andrew Bennett. We've been talking about doing this for a long time to really just talk about some stuff and conversate about things that we always talk about, which is number one. I guess the impetus to this podcast was football, the National Football League. To be specific, we always talk about, we spend the whole off season and the grueling long summer talking about trying to keep our minds occupied and with it, talking about something that we're both extremely passionate about, and that's the NFL and our two respective teams. We kind of share a mutual favorite team, and that's the Redskins. However, Nick's favorite team is the Broncos, but we both like the Redskins. We're from the DC area, and we like to talk a lot of Redskins, a lot of Broncos, a lot of Dolphins for Nick's brother, and basically a lot of fantasy and basically anything NFL. We're pretty much obsessed with. Wouldn't you say, Nick?
Yeah, so I think the general format it's going to be kind of loose, but generally we'll have some themes where we're going to be discussing our thoughts and opinions on the upcoming league season, and also talk about some of our favorite players and any related news that is worth talking about.
Yeah,
I'm definitely with Andrew in the sense that when it's not football season, I'm kind of going crazy. So this is definitely a good format, I think, to kind of document our thoughts and hopefully something we can look back to and continue to do.
And like I said, this is our first podcast, so there's probably going to be a lot of talking over each other, and I don't think it's going to be seamless at first. It probably takes a number of podcasts to get that way, but we're basically celebrities now that we started, so. That's pretty cool.
The only place to go up is up from here, right?
Yeah, I mean we're going to be terrible, but that's okay because we'll get better and we'll get more organized. But the other kind of half, so definitely NFL is going to be the topic, and we'll kind of pick one or two topics to discuss about the league and the upcoming season, or during the season, or the preseason, or whatever it is, and then we will transition and definitely incorporate some fantasy talk, because Nicholas and I are both avid fantasy football owners, players, whatever, and I'm sure we'll talk some what are they called? What are the I feel like an idiot. What are the new daily football?
Yeah, DraftKings and
yeah. So we'll include some DraftKings, and then honestly, the second half of the podcast, or at least some of it, is just going to be random conversation. So, we could talk about anything in life, whether it's, we could talk about, Australian rules football, or what we ate for breakfast, or,
Andrew's crazy sex life.
Or my crazy sex life. Exactly. All right, cool, man. So let's go ahead and start it off. What is our NFL topic today? Well, first of all, cheers, and let's cheers to us. Congratulations on starting the podcast finally, to our inaugural podcast, and I'll let you go ahead and segue into the first topic that we'll talk about today.
Yeah, so just gonna kick things off. Talk about the upcoming season. Talking about which teams were kind of hot on and which teams were not hot on. So kind of like this section will be the risers and fallers for 2016. I'm going to start it off with a bold prediction. So one thing that's really, fresh off the press about the news is the whole Tom Brady scandal. And Tom Brady's actually going to be out for the first 4 games. That's confirmed. So with that, I think the Patriots are dethroned this year for the first time in 13 years. And I'm picking the Dolphins to win that division, win the AFC East. So that's a pretty big move. I'm happy with that pick. But that's my first riser. My first faller is the Bengals. I think the Bengals suck this year. Not suck are terrible, but I think they missed the playoffs. So that's my 2 pretty bold picks right away. Andrew, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh man, I think that is very bold. I personally could never bet against the Patriots organization, and I'm never going to bet against Tom Brady. I think that he showed us a couple of seasons ago when he was suspended for 2 games or whatever, and then came and won the Super Bowl. It's going to piss him off. I think they have a couple of, I think they brought in Martellus Bennett, I believe. They're going to have if they have a healthy Gronk, I think they upgraded their O-line a little bit. They did lose a key player in Chandler to the Cardinals on defense, but I think they're one of my Super Bowl contenders as always. So I guess I'll be a little boring and have to disagree with you, but I do like that. I would like to see change in that division. I would kind of like to see Tannehill make that leap. Tannehill's not my favorite player or anything, but it's nice to see quarterbacks kind of develop and blossom. And I think he's got a pair of wideouts over in Miami that are just absolute athletic freaks. And, that team has potential. Drafting, I think they had a great draft, getting basically who they were going to take it to. Yeah. Mid-draft, getting potentially one of the best O-linemen in the league, in the draft. And, I think that's going to be a very interesting division, but I still think it belongs to the Patriots.
All right, but would you agree that maybe – all right, so the Patriots win, but do you like the Dolphins to make the playoffs?
I could see that happening. Yes. Yeah, I think they have potential. J.J. and if Tannehill and
Adam Gates.
Yeah, where did Gates come from? Isn't he the former Jets guy?
No, he's the Broncos. So he was the Broncos quarterbacks coach, and then became the offensive coordinator. This whiz kid, and then he went to Chicago as the offensive coordinator, and now he's in Miami.
Okay. So this is the kid from Chicago. Okay, so. I was thinking that where did the guy go from the Jets? Like he went from the Jets, and now he's with the Dolphins now. I think. No, he's not with the Dolphins. I'm an idiot. Whatever. We'll forget about him. I think he was the offensive coordinator for the Jets. You don't know where he went?
No, I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, I think that's a positive step. And like I said, if Tannehill breaks off and they get production from Sue and those receivers, and they get the running game going like they kind of did at the end of the season, I think they could totally make the playoffs. I haven't really gone through the scenarios of the AFC really and really analyze each team, but wouldn't surprise me. What have they go? Did they win 10? Have they been at that 8-8 hump?
Yeah, they've been 7-9, 8-8 for the last 4 years, really. But I think this is the year that the threshold's finally broken. I think they don't win 13 games, but 10 or 11, just enough to make them win that division. Before we move on, I also really like the Bills in that division. I actually have the Bills going as a wild card from that division.
Okay, so you think the Patriots are going to drop down 2 spots, and
yes,
2 teams are going to make the playoffs in that division. None of them being the Patriots.
Yes,
I think you're a little bit crazy with that, but I do like the Bills. I like the Bills. I don't like them to make the playoffs. I'm not a huge Rex Ryan guy. I don't hate him. I think he's a good motivational coach, but he's just jumped around the league so much. They had a fantastic draft. One of my favorite, I think, more outstanding drafts. Getting Ragland, the linebacker,
from Alabama.
Their defense is going to be pretty good. I'm a Tyrod fan. I think they were right on the cusp of making the playoffs last year, weren't they?
Yeah, they're definitely in the hunt. Just another quick, bold fact. I think LaShawn McCoy does not finish as the leading rusher for that team.
Well, Carlos Williams is suspended. You know that, right?
What'd you say?
Carlos Williams is suspended.
All right. Well, they still have some capable backups. But Carlos Williams, I thought, was really good. So
yeah, I do too. But I think he's suspended for the first 5 games for PEDs, 4 or 5 games, which kind of sucks. LaShawn, man, I like LaShawn McCoy, but I'll tell you, it's interesting for the Bills because I think if they don't make the playoffs this year, that Rex Ryan is out. Like he'll get fired at the end of the season.
Yeah, they have a talented team.
Huh? Yeah, they do have a talented team. You know, they have Sammy, they have LaShawn, they have playmakers on that offense. I wouldn't be surprised if they made the leap instead of the Dolphins. I mean, that's what's so hard about the NFL. It's so hard to make any predictions. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if either of those teams make that jump. A lot of people are saying about the Patriots that this is an ideal situation for them, Tom Brady being out the 4 games, so they can get an eye at Garoppolo as their backup and see what he's made out of. And a lot of people are saying they're going to go either 3-1 or 2-2. Anyway, how do you feel about that?
Well, I haven't really made these predictions by like studying the schedule and like, you know, breaking down their first 4 games. This is more based on what you're talking about, like my instinct based on the situation, right? Like I think just that division is primed to be competitive, and you know, when the chips fall at the end of the year, I think that the Dolphins and the Bills will be on top.
Yeah, I think that's totally. I think that's a great point. I think that division is really up for grabs, and you know, especially with the Patriots losing the best player in the whole National Football League for the first 4 games. So I think that's a great point. So how do you? Well, let's just go ahead and finish this divisional talk. I mean, how do you feel about the Jets?
Yeah, that's the team I haven't talked about yet. I think they made a lot of good things last year. You know, they did a lot of good things, but they still don't have a quarterback yet. So it's hard to say anything until, you know, Ryan Fitzpatrick resigns or et cetera. I'm not sure what they're going to do there. I don't think that they go to the playoffs. I think they go 8-8 or 7-9. I like Todd Bowles as the coach. I just don't think that they have a roster that can really compete with a lot of the teams in the AFC.
Got some aging wide receivers. I do love the Matt Forte pickup.
Really?
Yeah, I love Matt Forte. I think he's such an underrated.
He's the wrong side of 30.
Huh?
He's the wrong side of 30.
I do not care. I'm almost 30. Fuck you. I think that, I mean, so is Adrian Peterson. So I don't want to hear it. His production hasn't gone down statistically yet. I think it's just continued to increase, to be honest with you. So I'm still big on Forte from a fantasy project. I like the pickup from a team perspective. I think he'll win a few games. But I think I'm with you. I think their stock kind of drops. 2 aging wide receivers, kind of a question mark at quarterback. Is it going to be Fitzpatrick? Is it going to be Geno Smith? I actually hate Geno Smith more than any human being on this earth. I think he's mentally underdeveloped and really is just a terrible person. And I'm glad he got punched in the face.
Leave Geno alone. It's a defenseless receiver.
I just like, did I call that coming out of West Virginia or what?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Little backstory. This has definitely been an ongoing joke between Andrew and I that, you know, we can tell right away when someone comes out of the draft that they have it or don't have it. And Geno Smith is one of those people who just didn't pass the eye test.
Yeah, and it's not just like if they have it or they have it based on like what they look like when they throw the football. It's just based on their face. So it's a completely like ludicrous observation, and it makes no sense at all. But I just think that, you know, we have a really good knack for just looking somebody in the face and being like, yep, thank God that shit.
All right, so transitioning a little bit, different division. I threw out that the Bengals were my faller. And they're actually a pretty popular pick. I was just reading an article on ESPN that
the fall
60% of people think the Bengals are going to be a top 2 seed in the AFC.
top two, like they're not gonna fall. They're gonna rise.
No, I think that they don't make the playoffs.
Okay.
Or they're close. I think if they do make the playoffs, it's a wild card. I think the Steelers are a better team, and I think the Steelers take that division.
I am with you with the Steelers winning that division. It's hard to bet against the Steelers, and I think the Ravens are on the rise. I just don't think that they have what the Steelers do. I think Pittsburgh's got an underrated defense. They're getting better. They're getting younger. They're getting faster. And we all know what they can do on offense. They can hang with anyone. They're actually one of my favorites to win the Super Bowl. So I think they're just a really complete team, and they're more explosive. They have as much explosivity than any team in football right now. So I do think the Steelers win that division, but I think that the Bengals stay in the playoffs and win their first playoff game.
Their first playoff game ever, you mean?
Yeah, their first fucking playoff game ever. I mean, well, under Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton, and I really saw some strides in Andy Dalton that I like a lot. Yeah, they lost a couple of those, Mohamed Sanu and Jones, but I wasn't high on those guys. I mean, they're long and pretty fast, but they still have AJ Green and Eifert. I think Giovanni Bernard's going to have a huge year.
No.
You don't think so?
Well, I'm higher on Hill. I think Hill, people forget that he actually had a pretty productive year, even though he was a bust. But he had an amazing rookie year. Let's not forget that.
He did, but people forget how good Gio is, and how he's so productive. I wish he wasn't in that kind of two-back scheme, but he's so productive as a pass catcher, and he's just so small. He's this little meat nugget squirt. I really like him. I kind of think he's going to break out this year. Maybe something happens to Jeremy Hill. I mean, Jeremy Hill is good. I agree with you, but I do think Cincinnati stays in the race. The Ravens take a step forward, but they do not make the playoffs again, which is hard for me to bet against. And I really am not concerned about the Cleveland Browns at all, although I do like the hire of Hugh Jackson. I think the franchise is going in the right direction, but not behind Robert Griffin III. My prediction there is that he loses the job by week 5.
Who? Luke McCown or whoever is still there? I don't even know.
Luke McCown, yeah. I mean, either he doesn't start the season as a starter or he loses the job pretty quick. I just think that their offensive line and Robert, he is gonna get murdered.
Well, they have Joe Thomas, but they lost Alex Mack, who's one of the best centers in the league, if not the best.
They have one side of the line bolstered. Yeah, they have the greatest left tackle since Jonathan Ogden. That's true, but I'm sorry, you need 4 other guys on that line. So I don't know if you watched a Browns game last season, but
probably not.
McCown was actually a really productive quarterback in the first couple of games of the season. Gave him chances to win, but he just could not stay healthy because he was getting battered. And he's a big guy. He's a pretty big guy. Manziel got battered too when he was in there. What do you think is going to happen to the guy, the ragdoll of RG3, who is just the person that I just cannot take a fucking hit? I mean, he just gets murdered every time. It's crazy.
I want to root for the guy, I really do. But as a Skins fan, right, and because he's a former Redskin, I just don't think he's progressed to be an NFL-ready quarterback that can, step up under pressure and deliver the throw in the face of 6 defenders.
I agree. I'm with you. I obviously have a special place in my heart for Robert Griffin III, being a Redskins fan, but he is not. He's proven time and time again that he's not a pocket passer. He's a product of the system, and he just, unfortunately, I just don't think I don't envision success. But let's get out of that division. I kind of hate that division.
I hate it too.
Kind of seems like we actually really hate the Ravens. So although I respect them very much, so don't take offense to that, anybody. But I go to Ravens games a lot. Whatever. Let's leave that division. What's up?
Let's go to the AFC South. I have some more predictions there. I really like the Jags this year. I'm saying it. This is the year the Jags make the playoffs. I'm not saying they win the division. I think they fight with the Titans, who I like a lot too, to make another positive movement. I think the Jags and the Titans fight for a wild card with kind of the Bills.
Man, I hate to be the boring guy here. I like the Jaguars. I think they're going in the right direction. I just don't think it's going to be next year that they make the playoffs. I think it's going to take another year. I think after next season, heading into 2017 season, they're going to have a lot of their young defensive players, Dante Fowler, Jalen Ramsey, Miles Jack, Malik Jackson settling into systems. They're going to have a lot more continuity, growth, development of some potential future superstars.
Allen Robinson might be probably one of the most exciting players to watch in the NFL, either this year or if not next year.
We all saw the beginning of a potential offensive powerhouse, and then they have the makings of a successful team. But until I see really sound football for 2 years in a row, they're still the Jacksonville Jaguars to me.
I like Gus Bradley too.
I like Gus Bradley. I like Blake Bortles. I always liked Blake Bortles. I liked him out of college. I liked him when they did that special on him. I like any quarterback that works with Carson Palmer's younger brother. I'm forgetting, his name's escaping me right now. But he is a quarterback consultant for guys that are coming out trying to increase their draft status, and he does an excellent job. He used to play for the Redskins, but what's his name?
Jordan,
yeah, Jordan Palmer. So and I'm a big fan of Bortles. I love that wide receiver combo. I even like Denard Robinson. I just like what they're doing in Florida, in Jacksonville.
Yeah,
but I don't pick them. I also like what the young Titans team is doing. Their young quarterback, I actually like Mariota, but that's an experiment over there too. An interesting fantasy perspective about the Titans. What do you think about Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray on the same team?
I'm not touching either one of them. I guess if I had to choose, I think of the two, I like DeMarco Murray a little bit more. I really like Derrick Henry. I just don't think this is the year where he's given the opportunity to really, seize that. We'll see. If DeMarco Murray gets injured, I'm sure, Derrick Henry's going to be the most popular, ad, as he should be. I would like to see him get some reps in. But I'm higher on, Dorial Beckham-Green. I think that's what I said his name right.
Is he a Titan?
Yeah, the Titan. He's a wide receiver. He's Odell Beckham Jr.'s cousin.
Oh, yeah. He was a rookie last year?
Yeah, I like him. He's a big play threat. I'm not saying this is a Pro Bowler. Just he's gonna have a good year. Probably 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, agreed. I think I drafted him last year. I would agree with I do like Derrick Henry. I almost thought the Redskins were going to take him in the draft, which would have been crazy. But I would probably steer away. I don't know. I kind of have a good feeling about DeMarco Murray this year. I'm not gonna not as to pick him up in the early rounds, but if he's still lying there at the 5th, 6th round, 5th, 6th, 7th round, it'd be hard not to pick him up as the potential starter and with the success that he had in Dallas. But we'll see. So other interesting questions, I guess, as far as the AFC South goes. I'm gonna have to go boring, and I'm gonna have to not pick the division winner last year, but I'm gonna go ahead and stay with Indianapolis Colts.
Yep.
It's tough for me because I really think that Indy has a ton of holes, defensive line and offensive line. I just don't think they're strong enough. But I swear to God, that kid Andrew Luck, he wills that team to win, and I mean, they even have questions at receiver. I mean, I don't even receiver, tight end. I don't even know who their tight end is. I do not know one tight
Wayne
end.
Allen?
Huh?
Wayne Allen?
Oh, Wayne. Yeah, he's shit. He's trash. Whatever. But for some reason, I can't pick against them. The Texans, man, that's a weird team to talk about.
Dude, can I talk about that for a second? I completely agree with you. The Colts win it. I think Andrew Luck has a bounce back year. Maybe has an MVP year. I think he might have an MVP year. I'm feeling good about him. But the Texans, I think the pieces aren't necessarily meshing well there. I think they did a lot of good things, are moving in the right direction, but I don't think that the pieces are going to work well.
I agree with you. And to expound just a tiny bit before we move away from this division, being a Redskins fan and having the addition of free agents and all that crap never work out for us over and over and over again, year by year by year. I really don't think that free agent starting quarterback in a new system that's only started 7 games in Brock Osweiler, it's just not going to work. And Osweiler, sorry, it's not going to work the first year. I don't see that translating. I think they were kind of a trash playoff team. Their defense isn't trash and has potential to be really good, especially, we're all hoping Jadeveon Clowney comes on because I want to see Clowney and Watt on the same line with 2 dominant pass rushers. I mean, that could be really exciting to see. They have potential, especially defensively, and I like their pickup in Lamar Miller and everything. But I am with you. I see all those pickups not really translating into a playoff berth this year.
All right. You want to move to the last division in the AFC, and that's the AFC West. My personal favorite, and I don't think it'll surprise you at all, Andrew, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the Broncos to emerge victorious for our 4th consecutive AFC West division title. I think we, are not going to repeat by any means like our successes last year, but I think that defense is still good enough to lock down that division. Although I am definitely nervous and a little scared by what's going on in Oakland because Derek Carr is great, and Khalil Mack might be my newest man crush.
Yeah, this is a hard division for me to pick. I don't like picking repeat Super Bowl favorites to do anything, but it's pretty hard not to pick against a defense that was that dominant. But you did lose a couple really key pieces, especially in your boy Malik Jackson, who was probably my favorite defensive lineman of all last year. I think, his interior pressure was outstanding. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the Oakland Raiders win this division.
Wow.
I know. I just see what they've added to help Khalil Mack on defense. It is a big loss with Charles Woodson out. But I think, let's say Mark Sanchez gets hurt. I just don't see the Broncos running game being that dominant and having a quarterback. This is a passing league. And having a Mark Sanchez or a rookie coming in there
But the Broncos have been proven they don't even need a quarterback to win. If you look at the Peyton Manning stats last year, he threw for 9 touchdowns and 15 picks.
That's very true, and they just shored up Von Miller. I guess maybe I'm just doing this to be different now. I'm going to have to look at some other stuff, and we're going to reevaluate the divisions when we go through training camp. Big things that happen are injuries. And the Raiders, I think, are probably the team, maybe with the exception of the Giants, that added the most splash free agents. I don't even know where all that money came from. But they were making some noise last year. They're interesting, and I'm excited to watch them.
All right, well, I have a faller. Just wrapping up, talking about the other 2 teams. I think the Chargers suck. Sorry, Philip Rivers. I like watching you compete. I'm a fan of yours, but unfortunately the rest of that team is not really that good.
How about Melvin Gordon?
Okay, Melvin Gordon is pretty good. I think he has workhorse potential. I just think they're going to be behind a lot. And I love Keenan Allen. I want Keenan Allen on all my teams. I just think they're going to be throwing like crazy in garbage time because that defense sucks so much.
I was on the fence with this. I'm going to take back my Raiders pick. I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs to win this division. The Kansas City Chiefs seem to be the Denver Broncos kryptonite. And I don't know why last season I think they won one of the two, but they almost won the second one. Like, remind me what happened. Huh?
Remember they ran the ball with 30 seconds left, and there was a fumble, and we recovered it for a touchdown.
Oh, yeah. Jesus. That's right.
But
that's ridiculous. I don't know. I like Andy Reid as a coach. I love their defense. They did lose. Huh?
Houston, Justin Houston, their best player, is out for the year.
Justin Houston's out? When did that happen?
He had to get another surgery. I don't think it's for the whole year, but he's out at least 10 weeks.
No, that was last season.
Again.
No way, really?
Yeah.
And then they lost Sean Smith or whatever, the corner. One of their starting cornerbacks went to Pro Bowl cornerbacks went to Oakland.
Well, they have Marcus Peters, who's pretty goddamn good too.
He was a rookie last year, and he was amazing. I mean, he might have had one of the best rookie seasons at cornerback in NFL history. All right, so whatever. We'll move on. You like the Broncos. I like the Raiders. We're both not high on the Chargers. I could see the Chiefs bringing some noise. Let's move on to the National Football Conference, and I guess we'll save the best for last, and we'll go with the gross face teams. Let's go down to a little division called the NFC South.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one for me. This is another bold pick I have. I'm going to pick the Buccaneers to push forward and break that threshold and win the division.
Wow.
So there's a little backstory, a little history for you. No team has ever repeated as the division title winner in that division since Carolina did it last year. And so like it's historically been a very competitive one. I like the Buccaneers. I like Jameis Winston.
I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get a playoff berth. I'm down on the Falcons. I think the Saints improve a little bit, but I still don't see the Panthers getting dethroned here. I think, Cam Newton is flying off. He is just too damn good. They didn't lose that many pieces. I mean, they did, obviously Josh Norman, but I just think that offense and the production that they had last year, and they're getting Kelvin Benjamin back, I just think there's no way they're going to get dethroned there. So they win the division, but I do agree with you. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are suited to make a playoff run this year. I do like Jameis Winston. I like what they're doing. I love Mighty Mouse or whatever they call him, hamster.
Muscle hamster.
Yeah, I love him. What do you think about Drew Brees?
So I love Drew Brees. I want him on my fantasy teams. I think people think he had a terrible down year last year, but if you look at the stats, he really only had a bad first 3 weeks. After that, he was second in the league for like passing yards and games over 300.
Yeah, I mean he's incredible. He's another one that's defying this age phenomenon for NFL players. One of my favorite players ever, and yeah, I'd like him on any fantasy team. But I don't see the Saints. Too many problems on defense. With a historically bad defense last year. So all right, both of us are pretty high on Tampa Bay. I do, however, love the Panthers. What do you see in the Falcons? Are you just low on them?
They have a down year. I think they had a lot of hype. They're still going to be early favorites, but I think they don't really have a good team. Like, I'm not a big fan of Devontae Freeman. I think he's really overvalued. People.
Wow, that's incredible.
I don't think their defense can do anything. I love Julio Jones. I think he's top 3 wide receiver in the NFL, but I don't see them making the playoffs.
Yeah, sort of a one-trick pony. with the exception of Devontae Freeman, I think the kid's special, and I think he repeats and has a really good year. I don't know why people are so low on him. I guess people are saying that Tevin Coleman is going to get more touches and everything, but that kid can't hold on to the ball and can't seem to stay healthy. I do think that Devontae is the real deal, and I've thought that since his rookie year when Hard Knocks came out with the Falcons. However, I don't like the Falcons. I think Matt Ryan regresses a little bit this year, maybe shows his age. Julio is going to be Julio, but I don't see a scary pass rush or anything really scary. They do have a decent secondary, but I don't think they're going to make a run. Let's move on. I'm going to start off this one, NFC West. I think this is a division that's gaining strength and momentum. Obviously, the two favorites, Arizona and Seattle, but I can't express more how much I like Arizona. Here's my bold prediction. I think David Johnson is going to be the MVP of the NFL, and I think the Arizona Cardinals win the Super Bowl this year.
That's amazing. You kind of stole my thunder, but I appreciate it because I also love the Cardinals. I think that division sees two of the best teams in the NFL. In the Hawks, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals are two of the best teams in the entire league.
As much as I hate it, Russell Wilson is fucking incredible. He's incredible.
He's a special guy. You can't argue with that. Like, he just makes plays that other players can't make.
I mean, did you see the numbers? I mean, look at his numbers in the last 5 games of the season last year. He was throwing like 5 or 6 touchdowns a game.
Yeah, Doug Baldwin had one of the most crazy second half years ever.
I mean, and it's not like they have like true stud number ones. Like, they ain't got no Antonio Brown, Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones type deal. So, yeah, what do you think about the Rams?
I don't really know what to think. I want to see what Jared Goff looks like. I like Jeff Fisher. I'm a fan of his. I think that defense always plays hard. They have one of the best front 7. I think Aaron Donald might be in the running for defensive MVP this year. He's a stud.
He is a stud.
But ultimately, I love Todd Gurley too. I think he has a big year too. I'm high on him. I think I see him as a first-round pick in fantasy formats.
Is he your overall number 1?
No, actually. We'll talk more about that in a second.
We'll get that later.
Yeah.
All right. Obviously, big on Gurley. I think the Rams improved this year, but they're not going to the playoffs, not with a rookie quarterback. I'm not sure what I think about Goff. I kind of like the other one a little bit better. I think Wentz in Philly, but rookie quarterback, pretty inconsistent play from that line, even though it's really talented. The defensive line, that is, but not really that consistent of play from their offensive line. And that's where football is won for me. So the Rams, the 49ers will stay at the basement dwellers of the division, even though they somehow eke out weird wins occasionally. I think Colin Kaepernick's out of the league next year.
I think Blaine Gabbert starts all 16 games there.
I don't know if he's going to start all 16, but if they give Kaepernick a shot, but I think Blaine Gabbert, his comeback player of the year. Was he already comeback player of the year? I don't know who. I could see him coming in, and he was playing really strong last year. I like him. I think he's one of those guys who's going to have a reemergence after having all that hype. So I'm actually hopeful for that. I think having the 49ers as a good team in the NFL is always good. Quick, transition. I'm so high on David Johnson this year. He is. I think just he does everything, and as a rookie, he did everything. I think that he is going to break 2,000 yards, and he is going to have 5 to 10 touchdowns just receiving this year. I think this guy is a 2,000-yard back, total yards for sure, but maybe just rushing plus some. I mean, this guy's going to do it all. I'm super high on him. I think the Cardinals win it, and the Hawks are close behind. Both of them make the playoffs. Let's head to the NFC North. where I'll let you lead the way.
Yeah, so I think among like the Cardinals would probably be the popular choice for Super Bowl favorites. The other popular choice comes from this division, and that's the Green Bay Packers. I think the Green Bay Packers, they've always kind of lurked in the background. They've always been good, but I think they had a lot of injuries last year. Obviously, getting Jordy Nelson back is a huge, probably comeback player of the year will be Jordy Nelson. I think he has a big year. I think Aaron Rodgers has another big year. And I actually like their defense. I think they're doing a lot of good drafting. They've been bringing in a lot of the good players. And I don't really like anyone else in that division. I know another popular pick will be the Vikings. I personally don't think they get to the playoffs. But I don't think the Lions and Bears are any good at all. I think both those teams are below 500.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting division. I'll go from worst to first. Detroit will be the worst team. I'm not even a big Stafford fan. They've got a lot of problems. They just lost their best player. Chicago's interesting. I think they're going to vastly improve, and they could make a playoff push and push one of the two leading teams in the Vikings and the Packers out of there because of a couple of reasons. A, they have John Fox, and it's hard for me to bet against that guy. I think he's a heck of a coach. I think he brings in a lot of assistants, and I think they just are, really great professionals. They know football. They brought in a young Danny Trevathan, who's a 26-year-old superstar linebacker that gets the job done. They shored up that defensive line. They got some O-line help. They got some corner help, and then Kevin White is coming off. His first-round draft pick. He's going to complement Alshon Jeffrey, and I think I'm not a big Jay Cutler fan, so I can't pick them to win the division, but I think they're going to be a vastly improved team. I don't think they're going to be. I think they're going to be above 500 this year, and surprise some people. Give some teams some fits. I'm going to make a bold prediction. Oh man, I hate to do this, and say that the Vikings surpass the Packers and win the division.
Wow.
I know, and I don't like doing it because. How can you possibly bet against Aaron Rodgers? You always go with the best quarterback. However, and he had a great season last season, even though his statistics were down, but he still is amazing. But here's the thing: I love the Vikings head coach.
Leslie Frazier?
No.
Mike Zimmer?
Mike Zimmer.
Basically the same person.
Basically, he's white and Leslie Frazier is black. But, basically, you're fucking racist. No, I think he's a defensive coordinator from the Bengals, came over there, and he's improved that team a shit ton. He's really making that team a well-run organization. I mean, they played the Seahawks for the playoffs, and they should have won that game. It was on a botched field goal.
Yeah.
I am not the biggest Bridgewater fan because I haven't seen him really consistently make easy throws that he should make. But I'm hoping that he makes the progression. He's got another target in Laquan Treadwell behind, and Stephon Diggs might, even though he's more of an inconsistent home run threat, but with the addition of Treadwell and obviously having Adrian Peterson down there being the sole focus of any opposing defenses. If Bridgewater steps up and can develop in his third year, then I think they surpass the Packers, who, have an old pass rush right now. I mean, Julius Peppers, as good as he is, one of my favorite players of all time as well. And Clay Matthews is getting older. Shields over there, their corners, and I don't know, man. I just think they had sort of a lucky year last year with all those fucking Hail Mary passes and a lot of things tipping their way. And so I think they take a step back, and I think there's a new division champion. And Adrian Peterson has another monster year, and that defense carries them into possibly a playoff win.
Wow. All right. Well, we will agree to disagree in that division. I think, both teams are great. We'll see how it plays out. Let's talk about the last division here, definitely one close to home, and that's the NFC East, which we both know is always ripe for the taking for anyone. It's a wild card.
Yeah, pretty terrible division, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the meat and potatoes of at least, my thoughts. I'm gonna go ahead and start it off. Then I'm gonna have to say, and this is as unbiased as I possibly can do it, but it's still biased. The Washington Redskins win this division. They repeat. It doesn't happen often. I know it, but the way I look at it, with Kirk under the tag, he's going to be playing for that long-term deal. And if he plays as good or better than he did last year, he's going to get money. Okay, he's going to get maybe not Andrew Luck money, but he's going to get $60 million guaranteed. So he's basically playing for $60 million next year. All right. I'm hoping, obviously, as a Skins fan, that he does plays better than last year. He progresses. I would say there is a 20%, maybe a 15 to 10% chance, 10 to 15% chance that he doesn't play better than that next year. I don't see how he couldn't. We had no running game last year. We have more weapons this year. Hopefully, knock on wood, pray to God we keep, everybody stays healthy. Jordan Reed, Deshaun Jackson, our weapons and our O-line. But I see our young O-line getting better. With Scherf and Moses on the right side. Trent's always a good cornerstone. I see a top 5 as a whole receiving core in the NFL, if not a top 3 as far as depth goes. We don't have an Antonio Brown, but we have versatile weapons and second best tight end in the league, and followed by, Josh Doxson, a really great slot receiver, and James Crowder. And then you have, I haven't even talked about, the best home run threat in the league, I think, still, if not top 3, in Deshaun Jackson. And then a really consistent guy, tough guy to go out and make those over-the-middle catches like Pete Garçon. So I'm high on the Redskins offensively. If they get any sort of running game going, and Matt Jones, or if we sign, what's-his-face, Arian Foster, whatever happens, Pierre Thomas, Chris Thompson coming out of the backfield, I really think our offense is going to be a lot for people, especially in our division, to handle. Defensively, I think Josh Norman is a huge addition.
Wow.
I think that really –
that happened.
What did you say?
That happened.
You cut out.
I still can't believe that happened, that we got Josh Norman.
I mean, when I was thinking about it happening, I was pumped, but I was like, oh man, I don't know. Like, this is high profile. Like, I just really don't like it. I like this under the radar. I don't like people talking about the team, but like, that's a position that wins you Super Bowls. If you have shut down corners, I mean, look at Denver, Chris Harris and Aqib Talib. Like, Breeland is a lot better than people think. Like, he is an up and coming, could be potentially a premier corner. And if we have Josh Norman and him on there, people want to say Norman's a zone guy, system guy. He's not. He's a freak athlete that is a competitor. He's fucking competitive, plays with passion. I really think it changes the defense. I mean, we have 2 shutdown corners, D. Hall at free safety. I know strong safety is a question mark, but, if you have Gillette and Kerrigan coming off, if Gillette hits and Preston Smith still plays well, he had 11 sacks last year, and Kerrigan's your second guy, I think we're going to have success on defense. And I mean, I know this is overly optimistic, but I'll tell you my picks. I like the Redskins to compete with the Giants to win that division. I do think that the Cowboys have a good chance. The Eagles will be the dwellers. Anything can happen in this division, but I'm really going to like the matchups of Norman playing the top 2 receivers on the Cowboys and the Giants. I can't help but see something happening to Tony Romo again, which I would kind of hate to see because he's one of my favorite players. But albeit he'd be on the Cowboys. But I don't see them winning the division. The team that scares me the most is the Giants, but I think they're going to have that free agency sickness where they spend a bunch of money on Olivier Vernon for what? What did he do? I don't know. Their defense was so bad last year. I don't see him coming up and really making a serious push. But what's your thoughts?
No, I definitely share a lot of similar sentiments about this division. I disagreeing with you on one thing. I think the Giants actually steal it from the Redskins. There hasn't been a repeat winner since 2003.
Wow.
Eagles. So I think it's really hard to do that. I really love the Redskins. I think they're a better team this year than they were last year, and I think they're making the right improvements. I still think they get into the playoffs. They're my wild card. But I like the Giants a lot this year. I like Ben McAdoo. I think Tom Coughlin is great, but I'm excited to see what some new blood brings to that organization. I think Odell Beckham Jr. is definitely the most exciting player to watch in football.
He might be the best player in football.
He might be the best player in football, and I'm not ashamed. I might take a number 1 overall.
A lot of people are doing that. It's a good segue to our fantasy topic. But I would agree with you. I think the Giants have the potential to do it. Dallas even has the potential. But with Rolando McClain suspended for first 10 games, they're thirsty for linebacker. Sean Lee, can he stay healthy? That's a question mark. I don't see any pass rushers on that team. The Giants, they're just always a threat. But I'm going to say Giants have trouble because of a new coach, a new system. Wait, was McAdoo the coach last year?
Yeah, he was the O coordinator last year.
He's the O coordinator last year. All right, but I'm going to say new coach and all these free agents, big money free agents, are not going to translate to the playoffs or a division win. I'm going to say the Redskins repeat and be the first ones to do it since 2003. All right, that was all the divisions. It's crazy. I can't believe we just did that, but I feel good about it, and this is a lot of fun. I can't believe we're going to be famous. We get paid to do this. People love us. Oh, my God. How's it feel?
It feels amazing. I'm like want to get these thoughts down right now, and so we can look back and be amazed when we got them all right. I'm going to say you went on record and said Devontae Freeman would have a great year last year, and he did. So I think we get right a few times every year, and it's be nice to get some process, documentation on that.
For sure, dude. For sure. And, we'll obviously do another one of these division picks, before the season starts because of all the injuries that will indefinitely happen. All right, so we're going to fantasy first 5 picks. I thought this was an interesting topic because for the first time, then from what I can remember, I'm seeing like mock drafts and top 200s, top 100s, whatever, from all these fantasy professionals all over NFL.com or whatever, picking wide receivers, Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham as their number 1 pick, which is so crazy because it's always been running back. So I want to hear your thoughts on it, and I'll sort of come in afterwards.
Definitely. This is going to be a really interesting year. I think there's strict tiers for each position, and I think it's pretty deep for wide receiver especially. So I'm just going to start off with my top 10. Again, this will change depending on injuries and as we get updates.
The top 10 players?
Well, I guess what I'm thinking is I see a little bit of a pattern, so I'll talk about that.
Okay.
So if I'm drafting first, my first pick, I'm going to try to get a wide receiver. I'm trying to get one of these studs, either Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Odell Beckham Jr., or Julio Jones. Those are my stud receivers I'm trying to target. If none of those guys are there, say I'm picking 7, I'm going to pick either Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Todd Gurley, or Adrian Peterson. I think those are the clear tier for running backs. And if I'm at number 10, I'm going to pick Gronk probably. Either Gronk or Allen Robinson or Jamal Charles. So that's my first round right there. My 12 players I just mentioned.
Well, if you were going 10, and you pick Gronk, who would your next pick be?
Probably Allen Robinson.
You could pick Gronk and Jamal Charles.
Yeah, that's who I have right now is 10 and 11 is Gronk and Jamal Charles, and then Allen Robinson and Jordy Nelson.
Okay, so me being the giant dork that I am, I did do a mock draft. I am going to I am not going to go receiver number one. I'm still going to stay on the path of the old school path, I guess, and say that running back. I'm going to go running back heavy.
You would go David Johnson, number one overall over all the running backs, right?
Yeah. Well, so I'm either going to go David Johnson or Le'Veon Bell. Those are my number one and number two backs. In an ideal world, if I could get David Johnson in the second round, that's I might do that. I might pick Bell because I know he's going to go. But if I'm in a league where I don't think that the people are as high on Johnson and they're going to pick all these receivers, and I could get Johnson in the second round, I might do that. But it's not a likely thing. So yeah. My two top running backs are Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson. I'm a running back heavy guy. I really think that stud running backs are harder to come by than stud wide receivers. And a lot of times in the season, you'll have number one wideouts go down, or you'll have other wide receivers emerge. And I just feel like it's a dime a dozen picking up the next one of those. There's like 10 of them that emerge to be really solid, consistent fantasy starters. I think I got Brandon Marshall last year in the 5th round. I still think you can get quality guys later in the rounds. I did my overall goal for fantasy in the first, in your first 5 rounds or so is to get number one, the best possible players at that position. Like it's just like the NFL draft. Like you go out and you get, I don't care, you get number one, you get a number one guy that's sitting there, like no matter who it is. So I draft 3 running backs in a row if, there's no wide receiver sitting there anymore. You know what I mean? But I did a draft, for example. I was the first pick. I got Le'Veon Bell with my first pick, and then Jamal Charles in round 2. And then Allen Robinson in round 3, Jordan Reed in 4, and then Sammy Watkins, Kelvin Benjamin, Larry Fitzgerald, Giovanni Bernard, Tom Brady, Jeremy Langford, Amir Abdullah, who is another guy I'm kind of high on this year, Devontae Parker, Blake Bortles, Tavon Austin, and Derrick Henry, which I think is a pretty damn good draft going running back high.
Definitely, that's interesting. So your top wideout was Allen Robinson, and you had Le'Veon, Jamal Charles, and was it CJ, or who was your third?
My third running back was Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Langford and Amir Abdullah.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good team.
Yeah, 3 guys that I think Langford is the starting running back in Chicago, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, that's he played well. I remember I picked him up after I think Forte went down last year, and I picked him up, and he was very productive. So I think he's a good back, and he's going late, like real late in rounds. If you pick him up, how do you feel about Langford and Abdullah?
So Langford is actually going to be probably one of the most trendy picks this year. I think he's definitely going to have to impress me this summer. But he's got a good opportunity, and he's only got backups that he's competing against.
If you see Langford in round 10 available, are you taking him?
100%. I don't think he'll last past round 4.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess these mock drafts wasn't the most quality of one.
I have him top 50.
Okay, so what are your biggest positions of need with your first 5 picks?
All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and say I like one of the top receivers first. So that's my first pick. And then I'm going to go running back, because I think there's a lot of depth at wide receiver after the elite club. then I'm going to look to see if I can get one of the top 2 tight ends, top 3, right? So if I can get Gronk or Jordan Reed or Greg Olsen, I'll look there. Other than that, I just have a bunch of running backs and wide receivers. So pretty much.
I pretty much agree with you. I am a big tight end guy. I've always been. I had Gronk last year in one of my leagues. I've been a Jimmy Graham guy in the past when he was with New Orleans. And they are just so consistent. I personally, if he's healthy, I think Jordan Reed's going to have a ridiculous season this year. He's essentially uncoverable. I think he runs the best routes in the NFL of any receiver, not even tight ends. But a little bit of bias coming in there, obviously. But I agree. I think the more number ones you can get at each position, the better it's going to translate as far as consistent points. So I like personally running back, wide receiver, tight end. And then wide receiver with my 5th pick. But I could see myself doing, running back, wide receiver, running back, tight end. The interchanging just depending on who's available, depending on the trend of who's picking what. But if you can get a Gronk, and if you could get a Jordan Reed, or maybe even a Tyler Eifert or Travis Kelce type player at the tight end position, I would make that a priority.
Yeah, and just real quick, kind of talk about another sub-theme. I think players I'm relatively higher on than the rest of the population, and relatively lower on. So we both are, I think, high on Jamal Charles. A lot of people are down on him, which I find so surprising because, definitely there's a concern with the injury history, but at the same time, he is a special player, and we've all seen what he does in that offense.
Unfortunately, I've had him when he's gotten injured and been out for the season, but that's always a risk you're going to take. And I think they've paid the guy, so I think they're pretty committed to him. People are down on him because of Charkandrick West and the other guy out there in Kansas City, but no, I'm definitely going to be everybody knows in the NFL how special a player he is. So I'm high on him. I'm super high on Le'Veon Bell, one of my favorite players in the NFL to watch. And I really think he's kind of he's their bell cow. But he's going to get a lot of balls thrown to him. So PPR leagues, watch out. I think, him and David Johnson are just going to stand out in receptions, and they're going to be super productive on the ground as well. You got to think Pittsburgh, man, Antonio Brown, but they're complements, man. They complement each other. They do each other favors. They're going to get each other yards, and they're both going to have great seasons.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. Another player who no one's really talking about that I would definitely love in all my teams is Thomas Rawls. Now, this is definitely a risky pick. I'm picking him in the 2nd round. I'm picking him like 15 overall. I actually like him better than Ezekiel Elliott. So I think I'm
next player to talk about.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott, people want him to go like number 6. People have him like, 1st round. I think I don't even have him in my top 20. So I'm high on Thomas Rawls. I think he has a big, big year in Seattle carrying the rock. I don't think anyone knew this, but he actually averaged 5.7 yards per carry, the highest in the league last year when he was a starter. And I would love to see what a full year looks like for him if he can stay healthy.
I completely agree. I like the way he runs the ball. I think he's a really talented player. It's a shame to see him get injured last year. I'm high on him. He's I don't know if I'm going to take him. I'd take him as high as the 2nd or 3rd round. He's gonna have a good year. Ezekiel Elliott, how can you not be high on him? I mean, it's just such a sexy pick. It's such a cowboy, such a Jerry Jones thing, and behind that, the fucking hand beasts of the offensive line that they have, he's going to go in the 1st round in all formats. I'm sure of it. I would have no problem picking him with the 6th Actually, I don't know. I don't know if I pick him with the 6th pick, to be perfectly honest. What about you?
I mean, I'm not picking him in the first round. I'm definitely low on him. I think so. The opportunity is awesome, right? Like, we've seen worse running backs do better things in that system.
Yeah.
And it's definitely looks great. I'm just down on the Cowboys in general. I don't think that Ezekiel Elliott lives up to the hype of a number 6 overall player in the game.
I'm sort of high as far as running back goes on some Giants. The Giants rookie name is escaping me. I can't find it in my notes here. But I'm kind of high on the Giants rookie running back. What is his name? Paul Perkins.
Yeah, Paul Perkins.
Yeah, I'm high on him as a sleeper. I'm high on Carlos Hyde. I think he's talented in San Francisco. But yeah, all right. So yeah, those are our high running backs. What wide receivers are we high on?
I love. So Kelvin Benjamin coming back. We talked about him already. I think Amari Cooper might be the running for top 5, wide receivers this year.
I don't even think it's a question. I think he's gonna have a huge year. He might be the most productive wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, him and Mike Evans I like a lot, and Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen is going to have another good year because he's the only option out there in San Diego. I'm actually low on Sammy Watkins. I don't want to draft him on any of my teams because too big of a risk for me. But I really like Randall Cobb, and probably another big sleeper that he's going to get a lot of hype this year, so it's almost like overhyped. But Devontae Parker, I mean, that guy is just a physical freak, and 6'4", running 4.4. So I would love to see him do some big things.
That's interesting. I like that. I'm not really big on Sammy Watkins, although I think he's going to have a pretty good year, but I'm not super high on him either. I'm trying to remember the name of the Giants wide receiver.
Sam Shepard.
Yeah, I'm kind of high on him.
Yeah,
and I'm high on Martellus Bennett in New England. I kind of think Gronk's going to get injured, and I think Martellus Bennett might have a big year. I'm also high on Ladarius Green in Pittsburgh.
That is a nice pick. I think if you wait, if you don't get the top 3 tight end, I think you just wait, right? You wait for 10 rounds and just get a sleeper like Ladarius Green.
I'm good on that. Anybody that you're down on? How do you feel about Victor Cruz?
Well, I'm not even gonna draft Victor Cruz in any format. I'm down on a couple people. Trying to think off the top of my head. I don't think.
Real quick, I'm high on Michael Floyd in Arizona.
Yeah, that's Michael Floyd or John Brown. I think John Brown is my pick, but either one of those two could be top 10 wide receivers this year.
All right. Before you get to down, you can go down on the wide receiver. We'll go down wide receivers, and then let's transition to quarterbacks before we're done.
All right. People I'm not really drafting. Does it have to be a wide receiver? I think I'm not going to really draft Brandon Marshall. That's kind of he's kind of old. I would love to draft Golden Tate.
Sorry, I just said that Brandon Marshall saved my season last year, so it's hard for me to say that. But you think he's too old?
I don't know. That just situation doesn't really excite me. You know what I mean? People are gonna pick him in the second round, but I'd rather have like a Mike Evans or Amari Cooper.
Yeah, no, I mean I agree with you because last year I think I drafted Brandon Marshall in the 6th or 7th round because everybody was like, "Oh, new team, shitty quarterback," and then he had an amazing year, and now everybody's going to draft him, and I think he'll trend down. I don't think he'll meet expectations. So I agree.
Also, I'm not big on T.Y. Hilton. I don't think T.Y. Hilton, even though Andrew Luck is back, I'm not drafting T.Y. and I'm not drafting Doug Baldwin. I think Doug Baldwin is great. I like the guy, but he had a kind of a fluke year last year. But I really want to see is Dion Lewis come back and rip it up.
That's a really great thing. Dion Lewis is super talented. He could be a superstar. So I really like that pick, but I'm not super high on it because he's a Patriot, and you just never really see those running backs really take a consistent hold on getting you points. You just never know, who's going to be in, who's going to get the goal line carries, if Blunt's going to poach touchdowns or what. So that's a question mark to me. Also coming off an injury, so I'm not super high on it. But on to quarterbacks. I'm kind of into Golden Tate in Detroit, just because I don't know who else he's going to throw the ball to. But Amir Abdullah and Golden Tate, and that's about it there. But with quarterbacks, I'm gonna have to say I'm high on Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, he's gonna have a good year. I think that offense steps up. Let's hope that he can keep the interceptions down. That's the only thing that would kill him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not drafting a quarterback until the earliest, probably the 6th or 7th round, unless Cam Newton is still there at my 5th or 6th pick. If he's there in the 5th round, I'm gonna have trouble not taking Cam Newton. I think he's gonna have.
I'm definitely with you on that. I'm gonna wait probably more than anyone else. I think I will just wait on quarterbacks and hope a Drew Brees falls to me in the 10th round. We'll see how the rush goes, but I'm happy and confident that I can find someone good, whether it be a Derek Carr or Carson Palmer, right? These are guys that will get you stats and could be top 10 by the end of the year.
Agreed. I think I'm going to take 2 quarterbacks, and I'm going to take them late. And I think no matter what, you're going to get some production from one of them. If you take a Kirk Cousins, Blake Bortles, or Derek Carr, Tom Brady kind of deer, Drew Brees, Carson Palmer, whatever. The only one that really stands out tremendously to me is Cam, from a fantasy perspective. But yeah, man, I think we've podcasted for almost, over an hour for sure, almost an hour and a half. So I think we got a lot accomplished. We didn't hit any life subjects quite yet. Is there anything that pops into mind, or do you want to just get on that on our next one?
Yeah, I think we had a good preview and a good conversation with the stuff we wanted to talk about. But let's go ahead and save the other stuff for the next episode.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad we did this, and good to talk to you as always, and many more to come.
Absolutely. See you in the next one. Have a good night. Peace.
Later.